It comes and goes. We're out here chasing a feeling.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. This is your host, Becky McNattin, along with my guests today, Amanda Sullivan and Robin Melville. We're glad to have you listening as we live and share stories of mental health. Welcome, Amanda and Robin. Glad to have you here today.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here. I have a big question for you two. Okay. How do you know you feel confident when you experience it?
That is a big question.
Yeah.
I've actually spent a lot of time thinking about this question.
Okay.
And
how do you know?
Well, I was struggling with this question so much so that I actually asked some other people in my world to kind of get me started. So I wanted to share some of the things that they told me.
I love group polling.
So a few of the things people in my world told me that they said is that they're present and focused on the current moment and things that they can control, that they have positive self-talk, that they're not thinking too far in the future or too much about the past.
Okay.
And that they're not spending a lot of time thinking about people's opinions of them.
Ah.
That was mine.
Yeah, which really, it led me to think about, is confidence the absence of critical or negative self-talk, or is it just my ability to notice when, and to kind of like challenge maybe when I have negative thoughts about myself, or I'm like negative self-talk and not feeling confident? Like, I think it's on a spectrum. We talk about this with a lot of feelings. Like, there's a spectrum of what confidence might look and feel like.
Yeah. And what would you say it requires for you, Robin, to feel confident?
Great shoes.
Well, when we think about some basics and what does confidence feel like? Security, capable, feeling sure of ourselves. Like, I got this.
Yeah.
I love that you can highlight, hey, it's in part what I'm wearing. So
It can be.
great shoes.
Yeah.
What does it require for you, Amanda?
I think that that I'm feeling capable, and that I also can find things that I like and appreciate about myself, that I can kind of notice whether it is internal or external. Like, what am I feeling good about today? Is it something I did at work? Is it the way that my hair looks? Having my, hair, my curls turn out well, that gives me confidence for sure. Like you said, shoes, that I can accept my flaws and be okay with the fact that, like, as a human, I will have flaws and not be perfect.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful way to describe our show topic for today is the cost of confidence. What does it actually cost us to have it? How do we even know we have it? Which is why I ask you to, how do you know when you feel confident? It's an interesting question to reflect on.
Yeah.
What do we notice about ourselves when we feel like we have it? And then what does it require us? What is the cost of that thing? And is it achievable? I recently read that kids start comparing themselves to others by the age of 4. And by 6 years old, already have a sense of dissatisfaction with themselves. So we learn these messages as children and have our growing up and adult lives to think all about it.
Yeah.
And we get the messages of what confidence requires, what the cost of it is, and as well as what we should be insecure about from everywhere.
Yep.
It's marketed to us all the time and modeled for us. What would you two say about that?
I think it's important that we recognize that and notice, like, all of the places that that's actually happening, because it's beyond commercials. It's beyond billboards. It's everywhere. It's every aspect of your day is impacting that.
Yeah. It's interesting that you brought up kids, because that was part of what I had kind of thought about about how this starts at such a young age, and how actually so much of our confidence as children is impacted by having people around us that give us affirmation or believe in us, and how parents model that, or teachers or coaches model confidence for kids, and how they learn from watching people around them.
Great discussion. I cannot wait to talk more. Love this. Right now, we're going to take a short commercial break, but stay tuned for more on the cost of confidence. Hear about ways your insecurity is exploited every day. Thank you for listening to Feels Out Loud. We will be right back.
You don't never need help from nobody else. Nothing
Welcome back to Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. I am Becky McNattin, along with my guests Amanda Sullivan and Robin Melville. Let's get right back to the real costs of confidence. So you two, what do you see, if you really think about this, as the impact to mental health from what is marketing to our insecurities?
Mm-hmm. Are you asking how it impacts our mental health?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's such a I have so many answers. I don't even know where to start. Comparisons, I would say, is like top of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a quote, and I've heard clients even share this quote: "Is comparison is the thief of joy."
Yeah.
But marketing is essentially rooted in showing you what you don't have and why you need that.
Yeah.
And it's a comparison.
Mm-hmm.
It's always putting you in the mindset of, I don't have that, and I need it to be that.
Mm-hmm. To be good enough.
Yeah.
Somebody's filling in for you what it takes to attain.
Yep.
Right.
Something
Whatever.
good.
Fill in the
Peace.
blank.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to add, I definitely think it's contributing to anxiety and depression that we see amongst all populations of people. I think that when you're bombarded with this constant messaging around, you need this thing, or you need to look this way, or have these items to be quote unquote good enough, that's going to make me anxious, because I'm going to feel like I'm always trying to like catch up with whatever the thing is that I don't have. Or if I feel like I don't have it, it might start to affect my self-esteem, and I might start to feel depressed or sad or really bad about myself that I can't achieve what I think it looks like or feels like from that perspective to be good enough.
Well, and let's not overlook eating disorders.
Yeah.
Addictions, really, like all of the mental health
Right.
struggles.
Yep.
Right. Setting unrealistic expectations for even what a human being can do.
Right.
Yeah.
And promoting body image issues, maybe promoting inadequacy.
Yeah.
You mentioned social comparison, which I'm thinking about how the things we're not even aware of all day because we're so immersed in being exposed to it, that we may not even realize the way in which insecurity is highlighted to us, that our emotions all day, as we pass by billboards on the road or see ads scrolling through social media, that all has an impact on our emotions. And perhaps what the hugest impact is highlighting to us a space of insecurity. And marketing does something to tell us, well, if you buy or if you do, then you will feel confident. You have a means to get to this thing, and we have it for you. Our insecurity is targeted, and we're told that we need a thing. We need a thing to make that insecurity feel settled. Robin, you're a kind of a former marketing world human.
Sure am.
And so tell us about how marketing is rooted in psychology.
Yeah.
And how marketing plays to our insecurity.
Well, first I'll say there's a quote that I think a lot of people in marketing have probably heard at some point. But it's, we don't sell solutions, we sell problems. So it's not even about, oh, this product can bring you this. It's more about focusing on and highlighting, what don't you have?
What the problem?
What are you missing? Right? It's wanting you to look at, I don't have this in my life and I need it. So pay attention to ads. You'll notice they are focusing on a problem. Like, what problem are they highlighting in your life? And then they're telling you, after you have connected with, oh yeah, I totally have that issue, then they're saying, here's your solution. So that's psychology right there. But I could go on forever. So Becky, cut me off.
Well, I love hearing about it, because I don't know how aware we are that we've had an emotion about something. So you're saying that marketing is driving us to have a feeling.
Yeah.
Maybe not to know what we're feeling, because we might opt to express or process the emotion in a totally different way. But marketing is saying, we want you to be incited to have a feeling about something, because then you'll take an action to address that emotion.
And
we profit from that because you buy the thing.
Right. Yeah. Like you're going to invest in our product.
Yeah.
The emotion piece, I actually remember in one of the marketing classes that they said the 3 biggest things you focus on in ads is fear, laughter, and sex. They tell you that.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So if you highlight those as problems,
if you have an ad that provokes or like touches on any of those feelings, like you're afraid of not being good enough.
Yeah.
You see a funny ad, you remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you feel good. And then obviously sex sells. We of course know that.
Mm-hmm.
that's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it clearly works.
Yep.
Even from a really young age, because as I said in the first segment, by the age of 4, children are developing a sense of capacity to compare themselves to other children, which is so interesting how effective it is. There's a quote, modern marketing exploits your insecurity for profit. It's become so commonplace that we don't even realize it anymore. And now it's taking its toll. What do you think of this quote, Amanda?
Well, I think it's so true. When you and I were talking about this episode, I think what I said to you was, is this insecurity that I have about this thing real? Or is it just because I keep seeing ads for this product that's supposed to target this thing? And the thing was hair growth, right? And there's such a market right now, and we've seen on social media, for hair growth supplements. And I was like, am I actually worried about that thing? Or maybe I was like a 2 worried about it, and now I've become like a 7 because I've seen so many ads telling me like you have to have long, thick hair, right?
Mm-hmm. Which is highlighting to that the problem piece that Robin says.
Yeah.
That if repeatedly people or systems tell you have a problem, as human beings, we would say, well, I guess I have the problem.
Yeah.
I must. And if you get it over and over and over again.
Well, and that's what algorithms on social media especially do. If I watch one ad for a hair growth supplement, guess what?
Yep.
They're going to show me a heck ton of a lot of ads about hair growth supplements.
If you Google it, even if you just Google hair growth, guess what?
Right.
You're going to see ads all over. Yep. And then you're going to think, oh, wow, this must be a huge deal.
Yeah.
I absolutely need to do something about it.
Yeah. So what does the quote make you think about, Robin?
Can you say the quote again?
Yeah.
I forgot it already.
Modern marketing exploits your insecurity for profit. It's become so commonplace that we don't even realize it anymore. And now it's taking its toll.
Well, I would argue that it's not just modern marketing. I think going all the way back to the 50s, when kind of the consumerism boom happened, they very much used the same psychological tactics. It's just now we have more exposure to it everywhere. But as for the taking its toll, absolutely. We see it in the increase in depression and anxiety and self-esteem. And like we've referenced social media a few times, there's really no escaping it. And I think especially for kids and teenagers who are highly, highly susceptible to struggling with self-esteem and comparisons. It's taking its toll right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, that was the part that struck me the most out of the quote was, and now it's taking its toll. I found myself thinking about what's different right now in terms of the mental health impact, because I saw toll. I internalized that as a mental health impact, some sort of societal impact, maybe a relational impact now. And that was where I went with it too. Perhaps it's how often and how intensely we are exposed to this messaging of insecurity over and over and over again. I was in the grocery store this last week, and in the checkout aisle, so picture yourself in the checkout aisle, everyone. I was glancing at the magazines. All of these headlines and phrases started to catch my eye, and I really started to think about how we are bombarded with the messages. So exactly what you were just saying, Robin, how we are bombarded with messages all day long. The impact that this has, and in the way we see ourselves. And so I was having this like dialogue with myself in the line of the grocery store, particularly from these spaces of insecurity and fear. So I wanted to play a game with you two today. I brought with me several different slogans, headlines, article titles, and marketing campaigns that I have written on pieces of paper. They're in this bag. I'm going to dump them out on the table. I'm going to spread them out on the table, and then I want you to grab a slip of paper randomly. I want you to read what is written and then share how it makes you feel, what insecurity this might be getting at, and what you could see the mental health impact of it being. You can share stories, whatever it makes you think about. I'd love for you to think through it. So you two go ahead. Amanda, you go first. Pick one and then read it to us.
Mine says 3 ways you can improve.
Oh.
Right away. Whatever I'm doing right now must not be good enough if I need to improve, right?
So you read it, and how did you instantaneously feel?
Oh, just started to think about, what do I need to improve? Like, it made me anxious.
Okay.
Like, what am I not doing good enough? And so then to start like kind of filing in my mind, like, okay, what are the things that I need to improve? And I don't know what what this was the headline for, but
yes. As you read it, even I noticed that it had an impact. 3 ways you can improve was what it said.
Yeah.
That one, there's more than one way that you can improve. There's more things you need to improve. There's at least 3.
Yes.
And that right away, what Robin said, you have a problem. Yeah. Because you have 3 things that are not enough. And we wonder then, well, what are they? It's going to cause us out of fear to wonder what those are and look for the answer. That article tells you, well, we know what they are. We know what they are. Robin, you list one.
I'm still coming down from, I had an anger response to that one.
Did you really? Well, share that. What was your anger response?
It was immediate, like the assumption of, oh, there are ways I can improve. It's kind of like almost a defensive reaction. If someone just walked up to you and said, hey, I've got 3 ways you can improve.
Right.
I would not respond well to that.
Well, that's a really interesting point. Thank you for bringing that up, because what we're willing to receive from marketing is very different than if somebody were to say that out loud to us. If somebody came up to me and said, so I see 3 things that you need to improve.
Right.
I would instantaneously be upset.
Right.
Yeah. Explicits would probably come out of my mouth, right?
I would say, and I would think things like, one, how do you know that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know me.
And how are you the expert on what I need to do to improve? And why do I do that for just you? But to an unnamed source, we receive that. That was, I took all of these marketing titles, ads, literally just from what I've noticed recently. So we don't get angry with that thing. We actually buy the magazine.
Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting.
Or click on the article or the post on social media,
click
right?
on the article.
Yeah.
So you read yours.
All right. Fix tiredness and weight gain for good.
Okay. How did that make you feel?
Angry again.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, the fact that it started with fix.
Yeah.
Again, is the emphasis on there's a problem.
Yeah.
You need to fix it. And tiredness, okay, I can understand people wanting to change that.
Yeah.
But fix tiredness and weight gain for good, to me, says the message of, you can't do these things. You can't be tired. You can't gain weight. You know, what message does that say? Like, if I am, I'm going to feel bad. Like, oh, this
I can never feel tired.
Right. Yeah. Like, I'm tired. I must not be doing something right.
Yeah. Well, and last week we did an episode around storing emotion, and the way that we evaluate certain emotions as being challenging to experience or process with other people, that if we're told messaging around certain feels are bad,
right?
Things like being tired is not only not so great to feel, but it's a problem.
Yeah.
That you need to address right away. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you.
Right.
That would be part of a message overall of the way that we evaluate emotion in general. And what contributes to that. Well, if you are tired, certainly you don't want to say it out loud to people.
Yeah.
Because you better fix that for good.
Yeah.
Or if you're not, there's something wrong with you.
Right. Why aren't you fixing it?
Yeah.
It also, I mean, we last week also talked about the idea of shame. I think this perpetuates that.
Yeah. And the weight gain part, I mean, I think the connection to body image, and you read up eating disorders, like that's huge. I think that is something that is so rampant in terms of needing to have a body, our bodies look certain ways to feel valuable to other people in our culture.
Amanda, grab another one.
Okay, my next one says, straight hair doesn't have to mean boring hair.
Oh, wow.
You did just mention curls.
I mentioned my curls and yes, my length of my hair.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, again, it's like this kind of like immediately you're like, okay, like yeah, that's great. But then you start to like really think about it. And again, the implicit message is like if you have straight hair, that's boring and you need to do something different to make it less boring. Right?
Yeah. Well, the component of it that I was thinking about is straight hair doesn't have to be boring hair. I immediately went to a very ruminative place of boring for who?
Interesting.
So my head went to who thinks my straight hair is boring?
Yeah.
What if I don't think it's boring?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, other people think it's boring?
Yeah.
And so I heard that from a space of don't be boring to other people. Be interesting and exciting. Show up as interesting and exciting, or your straight hair can have interest and excitement to it.
Yeah.
Because showing up as boring would be bad. And maybe you don't even know if you're going to show up as boring.
Right.
Let's really make people afraid.
Yeah.
I think it also, like, my response to it was the idea that we talked about earlier of these messages creating an insecurity.
Yep.
Because when you read that, I'm like, oh, I didn't know my straight hair was boring.
Yeah.
Like now I do.
Yes.
Right.
It wasn't until you now read this and you can know how to make the straight hair not boring.
It doesn't have to be boring. I guess I didn't know it was, but
yes,
boy, do I want to figure out how to change that.
Well, and it's interesting that you brought up to who, because one thing I was thinking about with this episode is how, as women especially, we often don't like to see other women feel confident. It feels threatening to us, I think. And so we try to tear each other down.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so
which
again,
is probably a show all by itself of the
we'll do that as another show
of the criticality around watching other people be confident, which may be jealousy for ourselves. But that is likely through marketing part of what's exploited.
Yeah.
Robin, you list another one.
I feel like I'm getting a message here, but get it all done without being tired.
Oh.
So
how did it make you feel?
Well, I keep pulling ones that talk about being tired. So now I'm feeling that shame we talked about of like, okay, being tired is bad. Clearly, like everything they're talking about here is how to not be tired.
Yeah.
So I can't be. But the emphasis also all is underlined. So get it all done without being tired.
Yeah.
Oh, suddenly I have to do it all.
Yeah. Do more.
And if I'm tired, I'm not doing it right.
Yeah. If you're, that's what I was thinking as you highlighted it. What were you going to say, Amanda?
I was going to similarly, I think that we are all kind of, there's like this badge of honor with like being busy and doing it all, right? And how maybe marketing perpetuates that we need to be doing all of the things to be, again, have value or worth, and how things like that, and not be tired if we are going to do it all. Yeah.
Do it all and look good doing it.
Look good doing it. Have a smile on your face. Don't complain. Yeah.
And the mental health impact, certainly, as you said, well, I must be bad. When you mentioned a shame response, I must be bad if I'm feeling a certain way, because if I were doing it right, I would not have some sort of negative consequence. I wouldn't be feeling fatigued. I'd be able to get it all done.
Yeah.
And that over and over and over again. That's one title out of one thing that we're exposed to all day long. Amanda, read another one.
I will just add quick to that last one. They want you to think you need to do it all and get it all done because they're selling you products that perpetuate that idea.
Right.
They want you to buy their product.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Can you manifest clear skin?
Oh.
And it's a question.
Yes.
Okay.
Really leaning into the buzzword of manifest.
Right. But manifest is such a buzzword. And I also think, in addition to, I've brought up, hair growth products, I also think skincare has become huge in terms of marketing, and how this idea that like your skin has to be perfectly clear.
Yeah.
And
flawless
skin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm curious. I'm curious what the content of this marketing ad or article was.
My first thought of, as you were reading it, can you manifest clear skin, was if you don't have clear skin, you have bad thoughts.
Oh, totally.
Because if you manifest it, if you believe
then it's your fault.
Yes. So there's sort of a self-blame occurring here around, you must be thinking it into fruition.
Yes.
And so either we're going to teach you a way, or we have something to tell you about how your thoughts aren't bad, or how they could be better, or more effective. So it feels very internally, or looking at internal flaws, maybe fundamental flaws of a human being, because now your thoughts are even bad.
Yeah.
It's funny you went to like the total therapist lens, but I actually reverted back to a marketing lens when you read that. And can you manifest clear skin? Who are they targeting with that?
Totally.
Who uses that language? Who talks that way? They are very clearly targeting women who, I mean, I know we said manifest is a buzzword right now on social media. They are speaking directly to that target audience of those who feel like, I need to have clear skin. Like, this is important to me. They're taking different pieces of popular culture and piecing it together in this headline or title or whatever it is, because they know those are going to catch the eye of the people that are feeling that insecurity.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to hand you one more, Robin.
This is a long one.
This was the first one right in front of me. So
they've let themselves go. People who have gone from princely to porky.
Whoa. Okay. How did that make you feel?
Oh my gosh. I had like an immediate reaction to that. What?
Yeah. Where's this one from? It's shocking, actually. But I don't know where to start with this. They've let themselves go.
Yeah.
That idea.
Yeah.
And the language used around it.
Right.
Well, the thought that externally, when I saw this, it was a magazine title. It was an ad title. And when I saw it, I was thinking, that gets at our fear of, what do people think about me?
Yeah.
When do people think I've let myself go?
Right.
And what does that mean? Who gets to decide or define that? We want to read the article on how is the world critical to other people, because that world is also critical to me. And weeks ago, we did an article or a show on self-criticality, that sometimes we develop that critical voice to protect ourselves from external judgment. But that highlighted to me what we all worry about.
Yeah.
What are other people judging?
Yeah.
And this just named it very clearly that yes, we are, and we're going to put pictures of it, or we're going to put words behind it, maybe even names. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And then talk about why people feel shame is because they see things like this. People putting into categories of based on, I'm guessing this was based on, my interpretation is their body.
Right.
And how we're modeling that's like an okay thing to do.
Right. Just shame for your body changing.
Yeah.
And the emphasis on let themselves go, I actually question, like, why does that have to be a negative phrase? To me, it sounds a little freeing. Like, they've let themselves go. They've let go of anxiety, or they've let themselves.
It's a really interesting point.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we have such a negative connotation with that phrasing in general. And it's likely because it's followed up with all of these shaming, like, photos and examples of people who don't look as good as they once did.
And then comparison. You have mentioned that a couple of different times, that looking at whatever people who haven't let it go, whatever let go, whatever that looks like, that we need to be that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be thinking about this a ton now, that we've all grown so desensitized to judging ourselves and how we are seeking to fill those spaces of insecurity with things. We're seeking to fill those spaces of insecurity with things and maybe don't even know it. And I often say as a therapist that judgment needs to be met with compassion, not more judgment. What do you two, I want to ask how this game was for you, but I also want to ask, how can we notice how ads make us feel? How can we notice how marketing makes us feel?
Well, I think you could almost do with yourself what we just did, which is when you see an ad on social media or you see something that you want to click on, maybe just pausing and checking in with yourself. Like, what's the reaction that I'm having to this right now? And am I clicking on this thing because it's making me feel negatively or that I'm lacking in some way?
And along with that, what is the message that they're actually trying to communicate? And I just thought of an example, car commercials at Christmas time. Show your family you love them with this minivan.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So the message is, you don't love your family until you buy them this minivan.
Yes.
Right? So like, what message are they actually conveying?
Right.
And you're asking people to maybe sit with that.
Yeah.
That really think about it.
Right. Like, how am I interpreting this?
Yes. What meaning am I making from this so quickly?
Yeah.
And I appreciate what you're saying too, Amanda, on if you're in the grocery store line, as I was, maybe pause and just notice how the things make you feel, because we're probably reading them as we are in the checkout line.
Yeah.
And we're not even noticing how it made us feel because we're desensitized to it.
It's actually using some of the strategies we talked about last week, which is mindfulness and noticing if we're having a physical reaction to something that might indicate a feeling even before we're consciously aware of it.
Right.
And that perhaps because we are exploited our insecurity is exploited, to just recognize that insecurity does exist.
Yeah.
We are going to just naturally do that as human beings. I found this quote recently. When I feel insecure, I remind myself that being perfect is not an option. I am my own worst critic. My value is rooted in who I am, not what I do or how I look. My fears often don't represent reality. Growth happens outside my comfort zone, and comparing myself to others is unfair and unproductive. And this was kind of a social media post that I saw. It was sort of a little meme. What do you think about this quote?
True. I mean, that's my initial response.
I don't know. When I feel insecure, first, I don't even know that I notice that I do.
Right.
I don't know if I do those things consciously. So when I read this, I thought, I don't do any of them. But I love that you say true. Are they things that you do?
Can you repeat them? There's like several of them.
Yeah.
Let's go one or two at a time.
When I feel insecure, I remind myself that being perfect is not an option. I am my own worst critic. My value is rooted in who I am, not what I do or how I look. My fears often don't represent reality. Growth happens outside my comfort zone, and comparing myself to others is unfair and unproductive.
I think I have to think I have to be very aware and think very hard about changing the way that I'm thinking for those things to happen. I have this conversation with clients and people in my life a lot. Like, you're thinking about yourself way more than other people are thinking about you. Right.
Well,
in a positive way.
Yeah. In a positive way. Right. Like people, like if you're at the store and you're wearing sweatpants, that person that you pass in the store isn't going to think twice about the fact that you were wearing sweatpants.
Right.
Most likely.
Yeah. I mean, are you thinking about other people wearing sweatpants?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And it felt like the gist of this quote when someone feels secure, they're reminding themselves of these various statements, what they are choosing. You brought up, it's hard to change our mindset.
Yeah.
What they're choosing to do is engage in self-love and compassion to themselves about the insecurity. They aren't judging themselves about the insecurity. They're just reminding themselves compassionate messages about them.
I think the first line actually about perfection stands out the most to me in noticing, especially with those of us who struggle with perfectionism at times, is that reminder that perfection is honestly subjective. Can't truly be defined and can't really be achieved. So that one absolutely stands out to me.
Yeah. What else would you two say about ways to engage in self-love and compassion then?
One of the things I also ask clients a lot, kind of within this realm, is would you talk to a friend the way you talk to yourself? And people I don't think anyone has ever told me yes, that I would talk to somebody else that way.
Well, and also interesting, I bring that back to, would you let a friend talk to you the way that marketing talks to you?
Yeah.
It's a very personal challenge now for me post this conversation of, would you talk to a friend the way you talk to yourself? And also, would you tolerate what marketing is telling you from anybody around you if they were to say it?
Yeah.
Why are you tolerating that then? And what could be the self-love or self-compassionate message as a response to it?
Yeah. So I think noticing that and then trying to tell myself, like, what would I tell a friend if they shared an insecurity with me? Like, how would I respond to that? And trying to respond to myself the same way. One of the things I did this year is I actually did an inventory of my social media. And I know that neither of you are big on social media, but I thought this would be really helpful for my kind of sense of confidence. And I just went through, and it took several kind of times of doing this, but looked at different accounts or scrolled through, and I was like, oh, I'm having a feeling about that, or that content is not like reinforcing a message of self-love. So like, I'm going to stop following it. And so I would really encourage people to do that and maybe find accounts that do support body positivity or messages that are like the one that you read. How can we work on kind of counteracting some of this negative marketing that we hear?
Rather than fixing inadequacy.
Yeah. Going along with that, I was thinking, like, for self-love and compassion, I heard this quote once that said, no one ever shamed themselves into loving themselves.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like remembering, is this helping me? Is this helpful?
Yeah.
Like, what am I getting out of this shame and negativity? And is that going to help me get where I want to be?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful point. And holding ourselves accountable to that it isn't helpful. If we answer that question with, no, this is actually really hurtful.
Right.
Yeah. Another one I love is creating a playlist of music to go with lots of different things. One of my favorite playlists is my self-love playlist.
I love that.
Yeah. I actually listened to it on the way here today.
Did you? Really?
I did. And whenever there's like a lot of different songs, and sometimes different songs, hit different things that I'm experiencing. And I've encouraged clients to do this, and they found it really helpful in moments where they were like, I need a boost and I need something external to help me get it. So looking for those kind of songs that really are empowering and uplifting and help you feel more confident. Like Demi Lovato, she literally has a song called Confident.
Well, I think that's even a fantastic challenge for listeners as they're sitting at home today. If you don't have a self-love playlist, a self-compassion playlist for the moments where you need to be reminded that you are enough just as you are, make a playlist that you can listen to, and then maybe challenge yourself once a week to do that thing.
Yeah.
On a drive somewhere. It helps think about this connection between what we do and the inner dialogue that we have about what we do, and tuning in and noticing without a judgment. We don't have to judge when the feeling of insecurity, as I mentioned in the quote, but what is around us that influences that inner dialogue. And then we can respond with a active playlist to the things that we might be saying in that moment. We've done this in therapy a couple of times that it feels really cringy, but talking to ourselves in the mirror or journaling, you brought that up last week, Robin, journaling about things that help us understand ourselves. I think those are all great strategies. What would you say to that?
I think honestly, when you're feeling confident, grab the journal.
Yeah.
Write down compliments to yourself. People, like you said, it might sound a little cringy, but positive affirmations, reading them and absorbing them.
Yes.
That's going to be huge.
I love that. So much to think about here. We are headed to a commercial break, but when we come back, we will talk through listener questions on confidence and insecurity via media. Feels Out Loud. We'll be right back to process your thoughts in just a moment.
In a world full of strangers, you don't know who to trust. All you see is danger. Trying to find
We are back again with Feels Out Loud, and this part of the show is where we talk through questions from you, all our listeners. If you have a question related to mental wellness, sharing feelings, or our topics for each week that you would like us to process through, please visit our website at becomingtogethermn.com and find the Feels Out Loud page to submit a question directly, or you can email us at contact@becomingtogethermn.com. We really do want to hear from you all and what you are wondering about. I want to thank the people who have sent in questions for this week. We got a few of them, and I want to pose them to each of you two. Question 1, do you all think that insecurity impacts our ability to connect with other people? Is marketing impacting our relationships with others? And Robin, I want you to answer first.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
Firm.
yeah,
we looked at each other and we're like,
yeah, that question is absolutely. When you're feeling insecure, what are you holding back? I mean, like, there's so many things that you're hiding, that you're not sharing.
Yeah.
That's going to impact your connections with
Well
others.
said.
You can't have a genuine connection if you aren't putting forward part of yourself.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
What was the second part of the question?
Is marketing impacting our relationships with others?
Oh, well, yeah.
You would say yes, because you would be saying, well, marketing is highlighting the things that are problems for you,
Right.
that you need to fix in order to connect.
Right. It's telling us what we're not good enough, where we're not good enough, how we're not good enough.
And almost that, like, you can't have the connection maybe until you do the things to be good enough.
Like,
right.
You need these things in order to be worthy to connect with others.
Yeah, it got me thinking that our brain space, it would impact relationships and connection with others, because our brain space is just filled up with comparison and noting differences.
Yeah.
And emotions like fear and jealousy or envy would be front and center, or could be front and center, which are very difficult to connect in those emotions.
Right.
But that leads me to second listener's question. They say, I compare myself to others a lot. How can I stop doing this? And Amanda, what would you say?
That's a hard question. I think the first step is always just working on increasing your awareness and noticing of what you're doing. So noticing, like, oh, I caught myself comparing myself to that person. And then again, going back to kind of what I said earlier, is like, how would you respond to a friend if they told you that they were having that sort of comparison? Or maybe, and I think also being curious with yourself, like, why am I comparing myself to that person, and trying to understand better where maybe that reaction or that judgment is coming from.
Like, what's the function of it?
Yeah. What's the function?
Or kind of, I was thinking along those lines too, of like, it helps you recognize what you value. So maybe just understanding, like, what am I seeing that, is important to me?
Yeah.
But another thing I wanted to mention is I saw this quote once that referenced trees not comparing themselves to each other. Their limbs are all different shapes. Some are broken. They are all uniquely themselves.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like we all are are trees in that way.
Right.
Of no tree is more perfect than another. It's just different.
Yeah. With this listener, I found myself, if you're listening and said this, I want to give you a hug, because it feels like perhaps comparison is rooted in a need to see something before other people see it. It feels like practicing some of the self-compassion that we talked about in our last segment. In terms of stop doing this, first be nice to yourself that you're doing it. I loved that you said be curious with yourself on what's the function of even asking. Noticing that you're doing it means a lot. We're all doing this and we don't even notice it.
Yeah.
So I think that says something, and be nice to yourself as you're asking the questions. Being curious with compassion is super key.
Yep.
We are at the end of our show already for today. I want to thank you both for being here, and thank you for listening this morning. Join us next week as we talk about the vulnerability of joy. And in the week ahead, be kind to yourself. Remember that connection fosters wellness, and your voice is one that the world around you needs to hear. Share yourselves, friends.
Try again. Some do, some don't, some will, some won't. I wanna feel